On certain occasions, we would set up the we would set up the ham radio and allow people to call back to the United States. Um, so that was a task that I had to do. So anyway, along came a sergeant, and he was really on me for whatever reason. He was African American. He was a little bit older than me. He was married, and nothing that I could do was right. And I couldn't even sit down, and he, you know, had a issue with that. And I really think he, mm, and I hate to say this, but at the time I didn't realize it. But now that I'm older, but even a little bit after our interaction, I realized that he had an issue with me. And some people get stuck in their head with, I don't know whatever happened to him, but that, and I don't want to make it a race thing, but he was always looking for me to do something wrong because I think he had a bad experience with African American women. I just have to say it like that. Because it was, relentless. And he was always like, don't you do this, don't you mess up, don't you make me look bad. And I'm like, why? I didn't do anything for him to feel that way. I'm serious. I don't know why he just, you know, felt that way. But anyway, there came a chance, and I was young, so of course you're gonna make mistakes. And even if you're not young, people make mistakes all day, every day. So, as I stated, we would deliver clearance materials to the warehouse. So that was one of my jobs. That would entail me by myself driving a truck full of computers or other electronics, and these was the old school big back computers. I would have to stack them in there, and then we would go dispose of them. First, I had to before I stacked them in there, I had to write the serial numbers for them. Before I did that, I had to break them down and PM them, and then stack them in the vehicle, and then write down every little bit, the cord, the computer, the floppy disk had to be destroyed. All of that I had to write down. It's about 20 or 30 things for each computer, and it was about 20 or 30 computers each time. So anyway, and then other materials, and like I said, we had the radios, the military radios that you would use in the field to communicate with the other companies in the field. So we had to destroy these things. So there came a time when I was delivering these things, and I don't know if I got lost, but I was trying to back out. I don't remember right now what happened at the time, but at the time I was stuck, and the roads in Japan at the time were very slim. So, again, and I was by myself. I didn't have anyone to tell me to back it up and guide it out. And then they have these very hilly locations, and then the roads are slim. So I was trying to back out this vehicle, which is a military vehicle, which again I had to sign out and PM it and all this other stuff. So I was driving the vehicle. I backed it up, and I broke the tail light, but it was cracked. So in my mind, it wasn't noticeable. But if you searching for it, it's noticeable. But if you're looking at the vehicle, you can't really see that it's cracked. Um, so anyway, I brought it back. It was the week. It was Friday, so I brought it back and I left it there for the weekend, and I didn't tell anybody that I had the accident. So on Monday, of course, my sergeant, who hates me for whatever reason, of course, was the first one before I even got there. And maybe he found it on that Friday. I don't know, because everybody was gone. So it was either that Friday or Monday. Because, like I said, first thing Monday morning, and I guess probably because there wasn't that many people and we didn't have nothing to do. Maybe that's why he was riding me. because we didn't do physical training every 3 days. We did physical training when it was up to us to maintain our physical training, and then maybe once a month we did all together, me, the three staff sergeants, and then the sergeant came, who he always, every time, and I'm not lying, always every time had an excuse why he couldn't did it, and he never did it. Maybe one time he walked, he did not run. And the staff sergeant used to make fun of him that I was better than him at physical training because I would dust everybody. Of course, I was younger, but he was closer to my age, but I was still younger than him. But not really being an excuse. I feel like he overate or whatever, and he was not up to par to me at the time. And the staff sergeant would, because he saw that he was riding me, would really make fun of him about how I passed him in the physical training and could do better as far as push-ups and all that other stuff than him. And then for whatever reason he used to dip. I don't know if he picked that up being in the military, because to me that was odd to see an African American man dipping. But anyway, that's one of the things that you'll see in the military. So anyway, he was there first thing Monday morning, and he was on me like a flash, and he was like, "Did you take out this vehicle?" And I was like, "Yes." Did you know that this vehicle was broken? I don't know if I lied about it. I think I did. I think I said no. And he was like, "Did you have an accident in this vehicle?" And he was like, "You was the last one to have this vehicle. You did not write it down. You lied about it." And he made a really big deal about it. And took me up on charges, put me on restriction, a non-judicial punishment, military code, Uniform Code of Military Justice, and this was my experience. So when he did that, I was on restriction in the base, and he came to my actual room. He was really doing the most, making himself feel good, I guess. So I had to take everything out of my room. So if you notice the barracks, you have your bed, which is about a twin, or I think I had a full-size bed for whatever reason. That was metal and wood, and then you would have furniture and all these things. I had to take all of that stuff out, scrub my room by hand, up and down every day for like 14 days. And there's people, like I said, and if you've been on the base, you know what I'm talking about. There are Marines who get drunk and who have done really dangerous or stupid things that didn't get, that type of treatment. And even the staff sergeant was like, he was doing too much. But that was his right. He did it, the so-called teach me a lesson for lying and, having an accident, which I think that was a little extreme. But again, I'm not going to complain. And, that was his right to do that. And like I said, it may have been, I don't want to, say what I said before, but I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm a Gemini, so there's two sides to every coin. So maybe, as I stated, not necessarily the stroke is equal, but maybe to, as I stated, there wasn't really that many people there, and he's a sergeant, and he wants to make sure, ensure that ultimately everything that we do is, we're preparing for a wartime situation. So, in war, that could be a situation that would be harmful to the company, if you don't tell the truth. So, that's, under the side, of looking at this situation. But at the time, that's what I would say was the worst of times, because he was there for like about 6 months. And then he got in trouble, and he was actually put on Uniform Code of Military Justice for something worse, for, getting into it with his wife. And my staff sergeant made fun of him about that. And then it came a time when we had to do, every year we do a physical training that's compared to, all the Marines on the base. You train with your company, but then you do a test. think it's twice a year we do that test. With all the Marines on the base, and I dusted. I was like the number, and I don't want to lie, but I'm telling the truth, this is a number two or number three female on the whole base. So the females we run, I think it's a mile and a half, like within 10 minutes, and then the males have to run 3 miles within 10 minutes. So there's like a like if you ever see the track, the people who run track, they run around. You know, one time round is a mile and a half. So if you run it twice, that's 3 miles. You know, for the males. So the females will run it one time around, and the males will run it twice. So again, I forget what my time was. I think it was like 7 minutes, half a mile in 7 minutes. And again, we have to do it within 10 minutes. And I got a certificate for that. But anyway, and then when I was doing that race, there was some other males there. And then, like I said, on this base, it wasn't the one that they moved me to. It was mostly males. And there was a few females anyway. And half the females got an excuse. They was cute or whatever. They didn't have to do it. So, you know, a lot of the males respected me because first of all, I actually ran the race. And then, like I said, I think I was number one. Not number one. I was either number two or number three. And you get a certificate if you're first, second, or third top performer. I might have been number one, but I guess I remember if I was number one. So I was either number two or number three. And then, of course, my staff sergeant made a big deal to the sergeant, about my certificate, and he made him, give it to me, and he made a big deal about it. But when I was performing the test, for the yearly, I don't want to say exam, but we do it every year. There were some males there, of different races, and I passed, like boom, like past them, and then there was this one male, I think he was Hispanic, and the look on his face was like, what? I could feel, like I couldn't see his face, but I could kind of feel like behind me, he was like, oh, no way, this girl passing me. So he started speeding up. And then he kind of matched me, and then at the end, I just kept going because that was the end for me. But then he went in front of me because he had to keep going, as the male. So then whenever we finished the whole thing, we do a run and then pull-ups and all this other stuff and push-ups. So when we finished, he was like, girl, you inspired me, because I was like, no way am I letting this girl beat me. So I know you helped me improve my time, because he was like, no, this is not going down. So yeah, that's why I say the best of times, the worst of times, because, I had that sergeant riding me for a bit, but then I also had good times where I was able to, represent the females and represent our country, and it really, makes you feel like, you could do no wrong. So that was my brush with the uniform code of military dress this week. As my story's going, you'll see that there are other people who really had some harsher non-judicial punishments, including my husband, who I met a little bit after this situation, and he did meet that sergeant that was riding me, and he was like, oh, he probably likes you. But he ultimately became my husband, but he wasn't my husband at first. But now that I'm older, I don't know. I don't know about men. I don't know if he liked me, or again, like I said, was genuinely concerned about, our protection, that ultimately, our training is to, protect us if we go into a wartime situation. So that's my story and my brush with Uniform Code of Military Justice. As I stated, no one goes unscathed. Everyone has had their brush with it, and that was mine. Tell me if you had a brush with the Uniform Code of Military Justice or any justice. Thank you. Like, comment, and subscribe.